Hi, welcome to my new series, How to Sell a House in Greater Dallas. This is the first episode in the series and centers on the home inspection, particularly from the seller's perspective. I'm Megan Johnson, your local 5-star realtor with Realty One Group here serving the Greater Dallas area. And let's go ahead and talk about the home inspection and what you can expect as either a seller or a buyer when negotiating on a home for purchase. The home inspection is the process by which a qualified and licensed home inspector goes in and evaluates the overall condition and quality of the home related to its construction, related to its mechanical systems, the overall structure, and the finished quality of the home. Now, a buyer will purchase a home inspection in order to conduct their due diligence around the home to make sure that they are apprised of what they're buying. A seller may order a pre-sale home inspection in order to transfer peace of mind or full knowledge and disclosure to a prospective home buyer before they list a home. Now, I also have had a rare breed of seller clients that are truly invested in their home and committed to handing peace of mind over to the new buyer, whereby they remediate all of the findings in terms of the deficiencies in the report related to the home before they list their home for sale. Other sellers get these in order to better understand and have full awareness of what's going on with the home and also transfer that full knowledge on to the buyer. And then in terms of not ordering a pre-sale inspection from a seller's perspective, a lot of sellers really are just ready to go and they're wanting to sell the home as is. And then we work together to price and position the home accordingly, leaving it up to the buyer to conduct their own due diligence and order their own home inspection. Something to note here and be aware of is if you do get a pre-sale home inspection done, within 2 years prior to the sale of the home, you must disclose it on the seller's disclosure. Now, it will be up to the buyer and or their agent and representative to request the home inspection from you or your agent, but if it is requested, it must be provided. Now, if you are that seller that has remediated and taken care of those things that have come up on the inspection report during that time frame, what you'll want to do is itemize that list of repairs for yourself and for the buyer, so that way they know everything that's been remediated and to what level. So that would be part of your disclosure in addition to the home inspection report. Now, no any and all findings on the home inspection report need to be disclosed prior to or during the sale to that prospective buyer. Those are several scenarios where a home inspection could be ordered by either a buyer or a seller. Now, going back to the purpose of the home inspection, the home inspector is a qualified licensed professional in the state of Texas that goes in and looks at the home's structure, the construction quality, the finish quality, as well as evaluates and identifies any needs for repairs or replacement related to the home structure and the mechanical systems and finish quality of the home. Now, a home inspector can only see what they can see. It's really an observational report, leveraging their intense knowledge and deep expertise in their field, whereby they go through a lot of training. So they end up having quite a bit of knowledge related to a home and structure and systems. But anything behind the walls is not opined on because, again, it is limited to what an inspector can physically see, nor can they predict the future. So the limitations around a home inspection are limited to what the home inspector observes that day and what they can essentially see. So they'll evaluate the crawl space of a home that is a pier and beam as much as they can and can gain access. They'll evaluate an attic as much as they can and can gain access, as well as a roof based on their general access level and quality. Closets, small spaces, really based on all that they're able to get access to, they will opine on. Anything beyond that is outside of the scope of their report. Now, a home inspection is typically performed during the option period of the contract. And it is only ordered after a buyer or by the buyer after a buyer and seller align on the general terms of purchase and enter into a binding purchase and sale agreement. The option period is typically specified within that agreement and ranges anywhere from 1 to, on average, about 10 days, but truly is negotiable and can be as many days as the buyer and seller agree upon. The option period is a defined set of days that is purchased by the buyer, and it gives them the unilateral right to terminate the agreement based on any whim or finding during that period. And they pay for this. The buyer pays for this. Now, the inspection is typically ordered and performed within 1 to several days of being under contract. And that's because, for the most part, option periods are few days, particularly in this advantageous seller's market and kind of more frenzied market as well. We've seen them as few as 0 days and, really on average, probably about 5 days in this very strong seller's market. Now, even if you are a buyer that is waiving your option period and ability to do any due diligence during that period, which is definitely what we saw during the height and frenzy of the market, you were still finding buyers were conducting home inspections. And that's because it gives the buyer the most amount of knowledge related to the property that they're buying. I don't care option period or no option period. I'm always recommending that my buyer clients get a home inspection performed because they never know what they're going to find or encounter. A home can look beautiful, have very little deferred maintenance or present with very little deferred maintenance, or could be new construction. But I can tell you, even all of my last new construction buyer clients had findings in their home inspection reports. So whether you're purchasing an existing home or a newly constructed home, I highly recommend that for you as a buyer, you get a home inspection performed. Now, from a seller's perspective, the home inspection can be daunting because that home inspector is combing through the home and looking for any areas of deficiency related to the systems and the structure and the finish quality, right? But there are several options that can come out of the home inspection and or option period negotiation. So what are those? Let's say a buyer gets a home inspection during the option period and the report comes back with a slew of findings and deficiencies related to the home. Well, the buyer can ask for all to none of those deficiencies, that they be addressed, remediated, repaired, or replaced, right, related to those items in some form or fashion. The other option is that the buyer says, you know what, and maybe they'll go in and they'll prioritize some, right? We're in a hot seller's market right now. Sellers are more likely to have buyer options on the table. So they're looking for the best overall offer, and those buyers that are going to request less of them, essentially, typically. So buyers might be judging their hand relative to the market, and they say, we're going to prioritize these. We're going to focus on the most important systems to us based on our personal risk and financial tolerance. So that might look like the roof, the HVAC system, the plumbing system, those sorts of larger ticket items that maybe, not being addressed today are going to cause them more headache and financial strife down the road. So a buyer can always prioritize those items. And for the most part, I think under good counsel, most buyers do. Now, the other option is for the buyer to say, we don't want to put any of this onto the seller. We're going to ask that the seller give us a credit to repair this defined number of items, and we're going to ask for X number of dollars to do so. And we want that credit given to us as cash back at closing. Now, that's a credit in lieu of repairs that the buyer may ask for from the seller. Another option for the buyer is to say, you know what, we offered X, but because of these findings, we really only want to pay Y for the house. So they may go back and try to renegotiate the purchase price as well. The last and final option available to the buyer in terms of the negotiation on their side related to those home inspection findings would be to terminate altogether. Within that option period, I mentioned the unilateral right to terminate for any reason without additional cost to the buyer and to have their earnest money returned. That is within their right if done within the option period based on negative findings or really anything in that option period from the home inspection. So I've had that happen for a seller client of mine where the buyer just encountered too many findings in that report. They just weren't willing to take on all that was there. They didn't want to negotiate around it. And they said, you know what, this house is not the house for me. Obviously not the ideal scenario for anyone, but is definitely within the buyer's right and can happen to a seller. Now, the seller's option from their negotiation perspective would be to accept the repair and or replacement request from that first original and itemized list. They can negotiate back, right, or counter and ask the buyer to focus on a few specific items, or they may be willing to repair or replace a few specific items themselves, so they can go in and cross out and say, we will do this, but won't do that. So that's a counter. They can accept or reject the dollar amount requested in lieu of repairs, and they can counter that as well. So let's say the buyer is asking for $10,000. The seller can go back and say, you know what, no, we are only willing to offer $5,000. So that would be a counter of that offer. Related to the purchase price, the buyer can, or the seller can accept, counter, or reject that. They can say, you know what, we'll give you the reduction in the purchase price, but we're only going to, give you $2,500 versus the $5,000 plus maybe or so that you're asking. And the last bit of recourse to the buyer, but none to the seller, is if the buyer terminates, there's nothing the seller can do except, go back to any other offers that they had and see if they're interested in the home, or they can go back on the market altogether. Now, that's really everything to facilitate a negotiation around the findings in a home inspection based on the outcome. And it would be my role for you as your fiduciary and representative to work hard to get the best terms for you as a seller and or for you as the buyer, right? Depending on what side you fall on and where we're helping you. Now, the home inspector is supposed to provide that unbiased, qualified opinion in the home inspection. And that's exactly what they do. So my recommendation is to always have, especially for you as a listing agent, a good list of qualified inspectors that you can call on for, early career agents. They're great to ask questions. If your client has purchased the report, drill that inspector, learn either while you're there on site, learn from them after the fact by calling about the report, learn as much as you can from either folks that are, being hired to perform these inspections for you or that are giving them. Buyers and sellers do the same thing. For you as the purchaser, you own the report. So make sure you fully understand it. That inspector acts as your vendor as well as your counsel and advisor during this process. You've paid them to do so, so you want to make sure to leverage them to get full knowledge and understanding of the findings for yourself. Everything you learn here will just set you up for success with your next home purchase. So know that it is of the utmost importance for sure. If you have any more questions or need any counsel related to the home inspection process or selling your home in the greater Dallas area, or need help finding the home of your dreams, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Know that me and my team are always in your corner. Again, my name is Megan Johnson. I am a local 5-star realtor here with Realty One Group serving the greater Dallas area. Until next we see each other, be safe and stay blessed, and we will chat here again soon. Bye.